Necessities, the world's greatest podcast about the Coventry Bears. We're sponsored by the Bears Vice Presidents and by York's Tim, and you can find our show in Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, in Google Podcasts, and even now on Spotify. And we live at covbearspodcast.com. We're also at covbearspodcast on Twitter. I'm one of your hosts, Dave Musson, and I'm very pleased to bring you our second off-season special. So last time we chatted to one departing Bear, James Gertens. This week we chat to another. My co-host Craig Cathcart caught up with outgoing team manager Conor Kelly to chat about his 4 years spent with the club. It's a really great interview covering Conor's time at the Bears, the highs and the lows, as well as some excellent chat about rugby league in Ireland and the potential for a League One side in Dublin. So settle in and get ready to hear Conor's exit interview, and we'll be back again at some point during the off-season. Bye for now.
Right, so I'm joined by Conor Kelly here. This is part 2 of 2 of interviews that we've done before, and but this time it's a farewell interview. It's an end of an era for Conor. He's leaving the Bears and going back to Ireland. So for those not in the know, Conor, I guess probably where we start is just a very brief history of how and when you joined the Bears and how long you've been here, and then we'll go on to ask more questions.
Yeah, well, I joined the Bears back in the start of 2015. How I got involved, I've known Alan since about 2010. We went to Philadelphia together with Ireland. I was the team manager, he was the head coach, and we kind of stayed in touch and built a relationship following that. When it was publicised that the team was going to go into League One, I got in touch with Alan and we had some conversations. And initially, I wanted just to come over and learn bits and pieces, every now and then. That I eventually got roped in by Alan. He has a tendency to tell people a dream and verbal people. He eventually roped me into moving to Coventry full time, which I did in February 2015. I took up the role of community manager on a full-time basis and also did the team manager role. So that's how it started. I suppose nearly 4 years later, it's changed a little bit. I'm just doing the team manager role with a separate full-time job. I was doing team manager role. I'm now stopped. As you said, I'm preparing to return to Ireland in a number of weeks for a new challenge and to go back home and see some family.
Yeah, so why did you make the decision now? Was it kind of just time to go home really and that was it?
Yeah, I think initially when I came over, my original plan was maybe 1-2 years at the club.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the club and all of its people immediately, and I knew then I'd be there a bit longer.
Yeah.
I think this year I got the feeling I did a bit more with Rugby League in Ireland, running the under-19 trip to Serbia when we went to the European Championship, and I kind of saw that maybe now I have enough knowledge where I'm comfortable to go back to Ireland and try and help. And I think as well, it's 4 years away from my family where I've only seen them maybe once, twice a year.
Yeah.
It does take its toll, and I think this year I've missed home more than previous years, so I just felt it was time for me to go home and start again in Dublin.
Yeah. Well, we'll go through what's next for you really further on in the interview, but again, go back to the start really. So, I mean, it must have been coming over from Ireland straight into League One, professional rugby league. Must have been a massive learning curve at first. What was the hardest thing when you first got here?
I think the hardest bit was trying to get people to understand my accent.
Yeah. And they're still struggling now.
Yeah, definitely. I know Tom did mention that when he first met me, he didn't understand the word I said, and we did a 10-minute conversation, so that did concern me at the time. But on a more serious note, one of the toughest things was adapting from where I was operating in an amateur environment, and the expectations are very different as to what a team manager is expected to do. adapting to that was a challenge. And obviously learning more about the game at a higher level and seeing how quick the game was at this level. And League One now compared to when I first came over, it's a completely different league. The standard is so much higher. This game is a lot quicker and it's a lot more competitive. So, we've had to adapt every year, and I've had to adapt every year with new groups of players. And also coming over here, only knowing Alan before I came along, it was a challenge to get to know all the players, and coaches, and to get to know the fans. And I've been very lucky that they welcomed me in so easily, and I'm very obviously eternally grateful for how welcome I've felt.
Yeah, and as I said, I'll probably say again at the end, everyone's appreciated the massive effort that you've put in. One thing, I guess, what would be your biggest thing that you think you've learned, your biggest takeaway from the experience that you've had?
I think there's aspects of the different aspects of the game I've learned. Obviously I've learned a lot from Alan in terms of the business of the game, a lot from Tom in terms of coaching, and the other coaches like Alex, Mark, the other assistant coaches that have been there over the last 4 years, and the players. It's hard to put my finger on one big takeaway from the sport. I think it's just being able to adapt to what the challenges that you face, because it's different every week. Every day there's a new challenge. The game's constantly changing, evolving. So it's kind of keeping your finger on the pulse is very important. Yeah. And that's something you have to do in the amateur game, particularly not say in Ireland.
So, I won't be asking you many negative questions, but what was your lowest point, would you say, in the whole 4 years that you've been here, in terms of either results or things going wrong or things like that?
It's a hard one, really, because there's obviously been highs and lows, and that's natural. And if you spend 4 years anywhere, I don't think anyone would say, yes, it was perfect every day, because it wasn't. There was challenges, like I said, every day. I think the low points on the field were probably the loss in the fourth season to Gloucester, when we got 66-6. That was quite low. Yeah. Because they were a team that we'd beaten in pre-season, and, to lose in that fashion to someone who we would have thought was our rivals was very disappointing. And, similarly then to lose to Keighley this season in the fashion that we did. When you look at the two teams that were put out there, Keighley were not 90 points better than us. If we played them 9 times in the season, they would never have done that. Sorry, if we played them 10 times, 9 times, it would have been a close game. Yeah. So that was obviously fairly disappointing. And I know some of the other guys involved have said that as well. That was a real low point, and it's hard to stomach sometimes when you get results like that, but you also have to step back a little bit and realise that the club is developing all the time, and where we've come from in year one to this year, we've made massive strides. So, you take those lows, you take the bad days, and then you look how to make them into good days, and I think we've been very good at doing that, and remaining positive despite some of those days.
Yeah, I think that's, in the 4 years you've been here, that's been one of the themes, hasn't it? About you're going to have low points, you're going to have bad days in the office. It's about the resilience and how you react and how you build on that. And, I guess you've got used to working within a strong unit at the Bears.
Yeah, definitely. I'd have to say it is a very, very strong unit. From Alan to Tom, the assistant coaches, Alex and Mark, and obviously this year we've added to the management team, bringing Ryan Cousins in, who's been a superb addition. We're all very close and we all get on very well. Yeah. We've all worked very well together this year, so I think that's been a massive help on some of the low points and even some of the high points. Yeah. It's been great to see how everyone in the management team has gelled, especially when they've changed, because obviously from day one when I came in to now, there's only really 3 of us that are still involved out of 6 roles. in Mark, Mark and Tom and myself were the only ones in the management team at that stage. They're still there now, and obviously I'm now leaving. Alex has joined, and with Brian, Ryan, and they really have a great value to it. So I mean, I think that's helped having good people in place. That's helped massive.
And what's been your best thing to happen as manager of the Bears? So the time that you've been here, what would you say was your best number one moment?
Yeah, I think again in over 4 years, it's hard to think back 4 years ago what was the best moment. There's probably be best cultural highlights of each year really, because it's hard. It's very easy to think of this year. Obviously, we had the wins against Keighley and game of the season against Hunslet, and they're teams that we've always wanted to be, always aspired to be at their level. And I think, particularly the Keighley game, having so many guys at the Student Four Nations to bring in people who haven't played all year, like Mikey Russell and Brad Delaney, to go and beat Keighley was a massive turning point for the club.
Yeah.
It kind of went up from there. There were some results that didn't go our way after that, but we certainly, there's a difference in the mindset of the players and the coaches. It's almost like the last season had been broken and we could beat these teams. And we saw that again, they came down looking to go get promotion or get into the playoffs, and we battered them on the day, and I think that for last season they were the two highlights. I think the season before, again, beating North Wales away was fantastic. It was a fantastic event, and I think that my favourite two seasons were this season because of some of the wins and some of finishing above all the southern teams, which has always been a goal of the clubs.
Yeah.
And this season I was here when we were going into the last two games of the season. We were in a chance for the League One Shield playoff. And I think that they're the two highlights for me. They're the two highlighted years.
Yeah. And so I had a few quick fire questions for you, but you probably mentioned them already, but I'll carry on anyway. So don't think too much about it. Just give your answer, I guess. So what's been your favourite win?
Keighley this year.
And your favourite try?
Oh, probably Jamal Hunt's try against North Wales Crusaders in their second season, when he went from one corner across the pitch and then ran 80 metres.
Yeah, I think I can vaguely remember that one. And favourite player since you've been here?
Sorry?
Favourite player since you've been at the Bears?
Oh, I might upset some people with this one. There's probably a few. I mean, I'll get on with a lot of lads off the field, but I think my favourite player is probably Matt Reid, really.
Yeah.
On the field, how he went about it was he was a massive addition. I mean, I'd give some honourable mentions to Jack Morrison, James Gorchins, Chris Barrett, some of those guys that have been, great signings for us. I'm definitely not going to be popular after that, am I?
And your favourite away trip? Because you did do a lot of away trips. I mean, I've been on a few over the last couple of years, but every single time you've been there, so you're pretty much an ever-present. So what's your favourite one?
Yeah, I think the only ground I haven't actually been to in League One is Darwen Park, because I missed the Wilkinson game away.
Yeah.
I think that's the other one. Favourite away game? Ooh, that's a tough one. I think it was probably Bradford this year.
Yeah.
The event that was going to such a historic place like Odsall. It was a real high point, I think, for the club getting to play there, but it's not something you get every year. Some of the other grounds we got to go to 2-3 times. Only once we've been to Odsall, and obviously growing up watching Rugby League, especially in the 2000s, you saw that stadium packed out and some of the great teams that played there. So it was fantastic to be there.
Yeah, that sounds fair enough to me. And which team did you really like beating or playing against?
Oh, I really liked when we beat the Argos. There was definitely a big rivalry between the two clubs.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that, particularly when we beat them. Anytime we beat them, I think that when we beat them by 1 point at their place on a Good Friday, that was a particularly enjoyable victory to win late in the game, and especially to avenge the defeat there from the previous season, the big defeat.
Yeah.
I think, enjoyed those games. It's hard to single out one game because there's been that many over the 4 years. There's definitely been well over 100 games that I've been to. So,
yeah. So, what would you say is the best? Moving slightly away from rugby for a minute, but what would you say is the best thing about living in Coventry?
Best thing about Coventry, I think it's certainly a lot more laid back than Dublin. So that's what's made it a bit easier for me. It's not as fast paced as being in Dublin or somewhere like London. That's probably the best thing about it. That especially in the summertime, it's a lot more laid back. There's not a lot of traffic's nowhere near as bad. I know people probably think it's mental, but when you can get from one side to the other in half an hour, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit more laid back. It's not as fast paced as in Dublin. So it's a little bit easier to get around and just be a bit more relaxed around the place. Yeah.
So I had a listen before we recorded this. I had a listen to the show that we did earlier in the season, and in the interview we did predictions, and I asked you where do you thought the Bears were going to finish up, and you said you'd be happy if they finished in the top 10. Got some wins against the established Northern teams, and I said that was pretty much my thoughts as well. So Bears finished in the end, at 11th, and got 2 wins against established Northern teams. So you made quite a good prediction there. Do you think it's been a good season this year?
Yeah, I think it has. Again, there's been obviously the same points like the keeper game, which is very low. I think the cup run really, really helped with the season.
Yeah.
Those games for the guys was, again, got to witness. Obviously, the result was not what we wanted. But getting to go again to play Super League opposition, something we haven't done before. Before this season, we'd never won a cup game. So to win a couple of them was great, and to go out with last season having a couple of cup wins to enjoy was great. I think it was as close as we could get. I think there was obviously a couple of games like the Workington game, the Whitehaven game when we went up there and lost in the last minute. There's a couple of games that you just felt like they slipped away from us.
Yeah. That
would have won, and if those results had gone a different way, we probably would be in the top 10.
Yeah.
So, probably very unlucky not to be there, but still, I think it was a great season from the lads.
Yeah, and what do you think is next for the Bears then? Obviously, you'll not be around, but any thoughts on where they're going next?
I think they need to keep going the direction they're going. Having guys based locally has been a challenge, but we've seen with some of the results that when the lads train together a bit more, when they're more familiar with each other, there's more of a bond on the pitch, and that transfers into results.
Yeah.
And if they can do that consistently next year, then the top 10 won't be an issue next year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because it's a smaller league, but aiming up towards the top end of the league.
Yeah.
Is a realistic goal as long as they keep the current batch of players together.
Yeah.
And we see them develop as a team and as players and as individuals, and then hopefully that will translate onto more wins on the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so for me, I think they got to look upwards in 12-team league next year. They got to think about a top half finish. I think has got to be the aim. And
I think that should be. I don't think anyone would question that not being a good goal. Obviously, Tom and the coaching staff will sit down before the season starts and they'll look at some of the goals that they want to set and speak to the players. They do normally set the goals to the players, in-match goals, and what they want the goals to be throughout the season.
Yeah.
So, that is something that normally happens. So I'm sure they'll have that in mind when they go into those meetings and have those conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing to ask you, are you proud of what you've achieved and what's been achieved in the 4 years you've been here?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, if we look at not even just around the team, what's happened in the community. Obviously, we had quite a few projects that went on in the schools, which carried on even when I moved to another full-time role. Some of the stuff on the field, seeing the crowd grow, seeing the fans become closer to the team. I'm very proud of what I've achieved and what the club have achieved, but it's more about what the club have achieved, and we've seen the club grow massively.
Yeah.
And the respect gained around the game is massive now. So we just need to keep working on that and keep pushing forward.
So what's next for you then in terms of rugby league?
In terms of rugby league, obviously I'm going back to Dublin. Not 100% sure what's next entirely. Unfortunately, there is a new board in place in rugby league in Ireland. They haven't been very forthcoming with getting me involved. I've tried to get involved, but we'll watch in that sense. Probably wouldn't behoove me to comment too much on it.
No.
We have plans. They're probably longer term plans than some people may have seen reported.
Yeah.
But I know I'll be looking to go back to one of the clubs I used to do some work with on a voluntary basis and just enjoy the game. It's a much shorter season, so I'm going to have a lot more free time now. So I'll still obviously keep an eye on what's happening over here.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely look for a few games.
And you need to be setting out your scouting network and getting in touch with Tom when there's players that you spot as well.
Definitely. I mean, over the last 4 years, I know they haven't all materialised. I know we've had 3 Irish players play for us. Pete Roy, Mikey Russell and James Kelly. There have been another 14 that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
Didn't materialise or couldn't commit or for whatever reason it didn't happen. But that's something I want to continue doing. That's something that's quite important to me, is getting some of the guys in Ireland opportunities that previously they never would have had.
Yeah.
And the Bears have been very open to having Irish players over. It was tough. There were times that I'm sure, obviously, it's very hard when games aren't recorded and the levels aren't known to say to Tom, this guy is very good. But I think once he saw what Mikey Russell could do, I think that opened his eyes, and he said, "Yeah, there's some talent there."
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't mean there's a lot of talent there, but there is some talent in Ireland, and it's just getting it nurtured and giving guys the opportunity to get coached at a high level week in, week out. They will develop. We've seen how Peter Ryan has developed this year.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Ended up in the last game of the season being in the team of the week, so that's a massive achievement for him, considering he'd only ever played amateur rugby before he came to us. So I think there is some talent there. It's just getting the right type of person and getting them the opportunity here.
Yeah.
Now Tom's talking to a couple of guys that I've worked with in the 19s this year about hopefully getting them on trial and seeing how they go. So we may have a few more Irish guys in the squad this year.
I hope so. As coming from Ireland myself, I love to see the Irish players come through, and I've been really fascinated this year to see Peter Ryan's development, and obviously seeing Mikey Russell last year and seeing what a great player he was. I'm definitely of the view that there are players there that it's an untapped resource, and I'd love to see more Irish players get a chance. Yeah,
definitely, and that's like I said, I've tried to give that opportunity to other players. It doesn't always work. Not every player in Ireland is going to fit into the moulds that Tom and Alan and the coaches want. And that's the same for the same case for even guys all around the UK. Some players fit the mould, some don't. Obviously, I know what they're looking for. I have that inside knowledge. So if I see a player that I believe is good enough, I will make Tom aware of it, and I'll let him take it from there. If he wants to give them the opportunity or not, that comes down to the club. That's, all I can do is make them aware of some of these players.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw in a bit of a cheeky question here. Earlier on in the year, as the interview that I've mentioned, we talked about domestic rugby in Ireland, we talked briefly about a League One team, and there's been some news over the last few months about a potential team in Dublin. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that at all?
You're going to get me in trouble here, Craig. I wouldn't know.
You don't have to answer anything.
Question.
Let me rephrase it then. Do you think a League One club could work in Dublin?
Could it work? Yes, 100%. I've no doubt that it could work. There would be a lot of work that needs to go in to make it work.
Yeah.
And there needs money behind it to make it work. Because obviously there's a travel element that other clubs wouldn't have. So similar to where Toronto have to fly in and out.
Yeah.
Toulouse have to fly in and out games. There's similar travel elements there. Obviously it's a lot shorter travel. If you're playing some of the teams on the M62 corridor, it's a half an hour flight from maybe 45 minutes. So it'll be quicker for them, even with the hour they have to spend in the airport to get to Dublin, than it would be to, say, get to Barrow or Workington or Whitehaven or down to London. So I think it's viable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Will it happen? Watch this space.
Yeah.
I'll probably say any more than that, but, a lot of work needs to go into it, and, we'll see. I think it's viable. I think it's something that could work.
And do you think that would help bring on the domestic setup? I mean, we talked about players that are good enough in Ireland, this untapped resource. Do you think having a domestic setup below this League One team and giving players a pathway for some opportunities to progress, do you think that would make it a stronger domestic setup?
Yeah, I think it would. I think opportunities is a big carrot for players. If players look at a sport and they don't see any opportunity to progress, they tend not to stick around in it.
Yeah.
So if players see there's an opportunity to play in League One, particularly players who might be switching codes or might be from other sports, they're likely to come into the sport and try and get themselves noticed.
Yeah.
And that opportunity is a carrot for players, and I think that's a big part of it. And also then to develop young players. I mean, I've been heavily involved in setting up an under-19 system in Ireland. I did it back in 2014 when we first had the under-19 in Spain. Obviously, I was involved again this year, and I've seen the quality has grown massively, and I've come a long way from where I was in 2014, which is a credit to the guys who've been coaching back in Ireland. And there's some talent there. There is some talent in those young kids. It's very raw talent, and it needs to be harnessed in the right way. And I think that's a big challenge for Rugby League in Ireland, is to harness that talent and to keep those guys involved. I think part of that would be having the opportunity to play professional Rugby League week in, week out would be a real carrot for those young guys.
Yeah. Yeah, so on that note, I think I'd just like to say thanks for everything that you've done for the Bears. Thanks for everything that you've done for the podcast as well. You've always been in touch with us and supported us along the way. And you'll definitely be massively missed when you head back. But make sure you stay in touch with the club, stay in touch with the podcast. And any last things that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been involved in the club and has welcomed me. Fans, players, staff, Alan. Alan's been a massive support to me, and he has been a mentor to me. He's one of my mentors in Rugby League, and he's a very good friend of mine. So I have to say a massive thank you to him. I'd like to give a particular mention to two guys who I don't think got as much credit this year as they deserve. Ryan Cousins and Tim Griffiths have been superb throughout the year. Yeah. Great new volunteers club brought in. And I know with Ryan, he won't like me saying this, but Ryan's going to take over my role. He has no choice now because he's on the podcast. He'll be a great addition. No problem filling my boots. I've really enjoyed working with everyone, and I definitely look forward to coming back and seeing all the friends I've made and all the people that have made my stay such a pleasure. I just want to say just thank you, and I'll always be grateful for that, and I'll always remember quite fondly my time here. Yeah, that's a good note to finish on. Thank you very much, Conor. Cheers. Thank you, Craig.